Near Mint Condition, the home of collected edition.
That cover's so awesome.
That, as they say, is that. Marvel Comics. Let's go ahead and get started.
On this episode of Reels Talk, we're going to be doing a first-time view review of planes, trains, and automobiles, so stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. Amazing Amanda here with my lovely co-host, the Uncanny Omar.
That's right.
And since we are at the holiday time of Thanksgiving, we decided to do a first-time view review of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, the 1987 movie by John Hughes, starring Steve Martin and John Candy. But why is it called a first-time view review and not just a retro review or something like that? Well, basically because...
You're going to let me answer, you're going to talk
No,
about
I'm going to answer myself.
Okay, go ahead.
Because I've never seen the film, not in its entirety. Obviously, Omar has, right, Omar?
I've seen it many times. It's definitely not like I have a lot of choices with Thanksgiving movies.
No,
Not
Son-in-Law,
like,
though, with Pauly Shore.
okay, well, maybe next year, or Thanksgiving. But I feel like it's a movie that I rewatch over and over.
Yeah.
I just watched it again with my daughters, and it's still a classic. I love that movie. It's wonderful. And what does that have to do with comics? I'm sure some people are like, this is not comic book. Well, that's... John Candy was in Spaceballs, and Spaceballs is a spoof of Star Wars, and Star Wars had a comic. There you go.
Did Steve Martin ever do anything comic related? Because I feel like that'd be someone who
He did the
might have.
Three Amigos. There was
that close
Chevy
enough.
Chase, who was in Community. Anyway, I'm not playing that game.
Oh.
I'm not, or justifying it. This is just an awesome movie that I cannot believe you've never seen, so it makes me happy to talk about this movie because it's one of my favorites.
Yes.
Yeah, directed by John Hughes, who's known...
Written by John Hughes.
And written by John
Yeah.
Hughes, who was known to do just all of our 80s goodness.
And early 90s, Home Alone, let's not forget that.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Home Alone was in the... Was it early 90s? I thought it was late 80s.
No.
So, not just Home Alone, but also the holiday stuff with National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation and Home Alone 2. And then did this movie. So we are going to be talking about spoilers in case you have never seen it.
Exactly.
But I guess we'll get there in a second. Why don't you give me your synopsis of this movie? What is this movie about? Just in a nutshell, just really quick. Like what happens?
What happens in it? So, Steve Martin and John Candy are the main characters. Steve Martin is Neil Page. He is a business executive who is trying to get home to his family before or on Thanksgiving.
And where does his family live? Where does he live?
In Chicago, one of the
Just
greatest
like
places ever.
Every John Hughes
Yeah,
movie.
that's true, right? He must really just know Chicago. Yeah, so he's trying to get home to Chicago, and of course, throughout the film, he runs into a series of snafus of trying to get back. And, you know, in the 80s, travel is not what it is now in 2020.
It's so much better now.
Yeah, telecommunications isn't what it is.
Okay, that's...
Credit cards, finding money is not what it is. They don't have a phone with an cash app on it.
Okay, yes, if you were to make this movie now...
It would be a lot different.
It would
Wouldn't
be
it? Would
over
do that?
in 5 seconds.
Yes. So on this journey, in the beginning, he meets a gentleman named Del Griffith, played by John Candy, who is a rare gem of a character. He is like many John Candy characters. He is very boisterous, very friendly, kind of over the top, and doesn't know when to quit, maybe is the best way to put it.
I find it to be a rare gem in this particular movie because he is both annoying and lovable.
Oh.
Like, it's rare to find that in characters, in movies. They've tried to do it in the past before. Like, my daughter asked me if I've ever seen Cable Guy. For example, like Cable Guy, right?
Yeah.
Like, you have the character of Jim Carrey, who just comes off as annoying and not really lovable. Whereas John Candy, and to his testament, like, I don't know how he did it, but it is somebody that you don't want to sleep next to, that you do not want to be in the airplane next to.
Yeah.
But there's just some lovable quality about him that makes you think, oh, he's not that bad. Because the minute he's gone and they're not together, you're like, oh, I miss them being together. And I don't see that often in movies.
No.
Like, to have those kind of qualities in one character is so unique. And I miss John Candy. Like, I love that guy.
He was an amazing comedic actor. The nice thing about John Candy's character is that he's very self-aware of who he is. Even though he is who he is, there's moments where he's by himself, or even that moment when he's in the hotel room with Neil and pretty much is like, I like me. He's like, I know, like, I like me, and that's what matters. My wife likes me. Like, that whole thing.
I love that. I love that
it's a great
delivery
line,
because
right?
it almost makes you want to cry. You're on the verge of crying because he's also tearing up, realizing that this guy doesn't like him. Yeah. So all it is just a journey trying to get these characters back to Chicago, both of them trying to get back home, and on this journey you get to know a little bit more about them and some amazing some comedic scenes that to this day, oh my gosh, like I told my daughters when we were watching this, I was like, you're about to hear some vulgarity because this is rated R. And I'm like, I know it's a holiday movie, but oh my gosh, it's so good when he snaps. When it was the rental car.
It's a rental car.
Steve Martin starts snapping on the way. And every other word was the F-bomb.
Now, to set the scene is he makes it to the rental car stand. They give him keys to a car, and he has to pretty much go on this trek. And if you've ever been to a rental, they're not like this now, but before, it's this massive parking lot that he has to go on this journey to find the car. He takes the keys only to find the car's not there. And he has to take this whole trek back to the rental counter and to get there. And I think it's Edie McClurg is the actress who plays the rental counter attendant. Yeah, from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Yep. And she's this chipper lady, and he just goes off on her. And I think he uses the F word about every other word, right?
Yeah, like every other word was the F. I love how he said. But then, I mean, John Hughes was known for having characters like Chevy Chase and National Lampoon's Vacation snapping so well, and Steve Martin was so amazing in that.
Oh, he's so good.
He's like the straight man in this movie. Nothing he does is really truly funny.
No,
but it's just the scenes that he's in and playing off of other characters and playing off of John Candy that are amazing. And because I mean, Steve Martin's amazing. Like in The Jerk, Down Rotten's Dirty Scoundrels. That movie's amazing. So you know he can do comedy, but in this he plays the straight man. So when he snaps, it's so wonderful to see.
Yeah.
And things like Amanda said just do not work in their favor. Cars get busted. Oh my gosh, that scene in the car where they're driving on the wrong side of the road.
And they're like,
the guy's like, you're going the wrong way.
Yeah, and he's like, how do you know we're going the wrong way?
We're going the wrong way. He doesn't know where we're going.
Oh, I know.
And they see the two trucks. And it's almost like goofy. Too goofy even for this movie type of comedy, but it works where like Steve Martin's character and John Candy's character, you see their skeletons they're scared to death, and then he looks over at John Candy. John Candy's laughing like the devil because that's the way he pictures him. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I love that scene. There's so many moments in this movie that just make it so memorable.
Exactly. That was that after that scene happens and the car spins around, they get out of the car, and then prior to that, John Candy's Del Griffith had flicked his cigarette. He thought out the window, but it, I guess, flew into the back seat.
Yeah, it's in the back
seat. And then they park the car. They get out to go collect his luggage that had fallen out of the car and the back of the car. And the car just catches on fire, and the two of them just start laughing. And then he realizes that he stole his Diner Club card, but that he put the Diner Club card back in Neil's wallet, which is in the burning
Steve Martin's character, Neo, is laughing because he's like, oh, finally, now you get a taste of what it's like traveling with you because you put this on your credit card. And Candy, the look on his face when he's laughing and realizes, oh, that wasn't my credit card. And he's like, but he's going to wait a little bit more to laugh and then tell him the bet. Oh, my gosh. Just amazing.
Yes. Just good. I love that that back and forth. Like, wait, what did you do? Yeah. There's a lot of good moments in this film. But I think the best part about the film is, you're learning about the men, and particularly Del Griffith's story, which is John Candy's character, because he talks a lot about his wife, Mary, I believe her name is, and there's a really nice moment with the two of them are in a hotel room, which basically Neil had to buy with $17 and his nice watch. Because that's all they had. They had no
gosh,
money.
And Del had a Casio and $2. $2. The guy was like, no.
Go leave right now. And they're sitting there and they're eating all this junk food and stuff, I guess they found from like a hotel vending machine or whatnot, and all these little bottles of alcohol. And Neil says something about going home to your wife, right? And you just see Del's face. And I think at that point is when I realized, okay, he's been talking about Mary, but maybe something's happening with Mary, that he's not going to go home to Mary, right?
Yeah, because he has a portrait or her picture that he puts up when he sleeps with when he goes in the hotel room scene. And then he mentions when they were eating, like, you know, if at least we get to go back home, you know, and I can't wait to go back home.
Yeah.
And yeah, Dale mentions, he lets it slip that he hasn't been home in years.
Yeah,
of course, all this comes to play in a little bit. But before we talk about the sentimental things, we have to talk about the amazing "Those Aren't Pillows" scene.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my gosh, I don't know how many times my friends and I go camping and we quote that. Like, we quote that very scene. Why were you kissing my ear?
Yes.
Why are you holding my hand?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that was so awesome. Like, my daughters were laughing, and I'm like, yes, it still works. That kind of comedy still works, right? Like, these two guys just caressing each other.
It still works.
Like, where's your other hand? Between two pillows?
Between two pillows?
Those aren't pillows? Or do they just jump out of bed? Oh, I love that scene.
Oh, gosh.
So we talked about that, you know, the lead up. It's a comedy road trip, but it has so much heart in it that I think to this day, it still tears me up. So there is a story behind when Steve Martin is in the train and they separate for the last time, right?
Yep.
Like, he's like, thank you so much. This has been an interesting journey.
And
he looks at Dell, and Dell's almost like Candy, man, he just killed it.
Yeah.
It's almost like he wants to tell him, but has too much pride not to say he has nowhere to go.
Exactly.
So he leaves him at the train station. And what's really cool about this is in the commentary to the 4K. If you don't have the 4K, by the way, it's amazing because it has the deleted scenes that have never been seen anywhere.
It's awesome.
But when that flashback scene when he's sitting in the train, you know, thinking of his wife, thinking of his kids, and then thinking of the stuff that him and Dale did, and he starts smiling and laughing to himself. He didn't know the camera was recording. That was placed in a moment of, like, they put the camera in, not in front of him. I can't remember where they put it. And they spliced scenes together. They didn't tell him they were going to use that to put the story together.
Oh, wow.
So all he knows is that at one point he had to go back to the train station when he realizes that Dale's wife had been dead for 8 years.
Yeah, for 8 years.
And he goes back to the train station, gets him, and they go back to his home to have. But I thought that was a really cool thing that, you know, behind the scenes. That
that's really awesome.
It was just filming him naturally sitting there thinking about the stuff that they had been doing and filming. And it was an honest reaction to everything. A very candid moment.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool.
It was really cool. I think that's a really interesting thing that they did. And Steve Martin played it perfectly, I think. Even though he didn't know he was playing it perfectly, but he did.
No, he's just being himself.
Yeah, so exactly.
Yeah. Chemistry between these actors was amazing. I would have loved to have seen them in a lot more things. And sadly, we didn't get that much more. But yeah, they make it home, and Steve's like, "Hey, this is my friend." And then the "Every Time You Go Away" song starts playing, and I get misty-eyed just thinking about, like, that moment where he actually has a home to go to, because you didn't know where Dale was going to. All these little hints that they throw at you, like the big trunk he's taking with him. That's his home, right? Like, that's how he thinks. Like, you never ask yourself, what is this guy carrying with him?
Exactly.
So I have to ask, as one of my favorite movies, what did you think of this?
I honestly really enjoyed the film, especially. I love Steve Martin. I told you, I think he's a hot guy. He's a hot man with his gray hair and his dark eyebrows, and there's some scenes in there where he shows off his. I was like, yeah, Steve Martin, he's always got it, even in, like, Only Murders in This Building. Yeah. So.
Okay.
But no,
Steve Martin.
Him and John Candy are. I mean. You know, I've seen, obviously, my first experience with John Candy was when I was younger and saw Home Alone, right? Because that was the first time I remember seeing him.
That was the first time you saw him?
Because he was Poco, the King of Polka, right? And so that was the first time I ever saw John Candy. And, of course, then later on, as you grow older, you see all the flashbacks or all the stuff that of SNL and things like that. But, yeah, just seeing the two of them together, that's what really this movie's about. It's the two of them and their chemistry. And I didn't realize that Steve Martin was going to play the straight man until, as I was watching, I was like, oh, he's not he's a comedic actor, but he's not the one doing the comedy necessarily. Someone's playing off of him, and that's John Candy. And I think it worked perfectly, because you can't have two crazy people. Again, because you could, but.
So you have you seen other things with John Candy in it, like Spaceballs?
I've never seen Spaceballs. We had this conversation before.
Oh, well then it's.
I've never seen Spaceballs.
Have you seen a lot of Mel Brooks films, or?
No, not a lot of Mel
Robin Hood Men in Tights?
Well, that I have seen.
Okay.
No, that I have seen.
Okay, that's
yes,
masterpiece as well.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, we may do another first time view review.
Yes.
And have our viewers vote for which Mel Brooks film to watch, because I'm curious about what you think about those films. So overall, yeah, this movie, Like, what would you rate it?
Oh gosh. What would I rate
10.
this? I think I would rate it. Oh shoot. It's a great film. I love a lot of the comedy in it. Like when he gets his coat stuck in the wheels. He's trying to get out of it. Or when that guy grabs Steve Martin by the balls to pick him up. He's like, it's a good thing that cop was there to stop him.
He almost runs over his head. We haven't even talked about the weird cameo of Kevin Bacon.
Yeah,
in this movie,
what was
who
that?
doesn't even deliver a line. He's just... Well, then later on, weren't they together in the Bride movie? The Father of the Bride?
Yeah, Father, yeah, they were.
But I mean, this is before that.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a really interesting person to put as a cameo in this movie at the very beginning, trying to catch the same cab. All right, moment of truth.
Yes.
Out of 10.
Strong 9 out of 10. It was a great film.
9 out of 10. This is one of those movies for me that gets a 10 out of 10.
There we go.
I love this movie. I don't think... yeah, sure, language. So, you know, it's a holiday movie. So
it's a holiday movie,
keep
but
that in mind.
Yeah, there is some language.
Yeah. I love that my kids even caught the... Man, I don't... like this guy's really annoying, but I like him, and they were thinking the same thing I was thinking as a kid when I saw this. I was like, I really like that guy, but he's so annoying.
I would be
they were
stuck next
so
to him
conflicted by his character.
Like that airplane scene of him taking his shoes off. I don't know why people would take their shoes. And then that old
his
man
underwear and using all the towels. You know people like this.
Yes, you do, and you would not want to. You wouldn't want to be stuck next to them in a little. Not in the airplanes now because they're even smaller than they were back then. They made them so they could put more people in the plane. But yeah, definitely 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. It was a great. I mean, this will be one of those staples for Thanksgiving for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's it, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Yeah, in the comments, let us know what other movies... Well, you don't know the list of movies Amanda hasn't watched, but there's a lot of 80s movies she hasn't seen that I would love to revisit. And make sure you watch our weekly show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, except for this past one. That's what we're doing it today.
Yes, that's what we're doing it today.
Sign us off,
Recorded. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And remember to follow us on all of our social media channels at nearmintcon. Remember to check us out on Spreadshop for some great near mint condition merchandise.
Cool, so much.
And also check us out on Patreon. For $1 a month or more, you can support us here and what we do and get some cool perks along the way. And last but not least, if it's classy and cool, it must be near mint. Good journey till all are one, and we'll see y'all next time.
Yes, till all are one. That's awesome.
Ready? We're good? Okay. So stay tuned.
Let's do that one more time because I did not point. I forget your point.
We had the point. Okay, we're pointing anyway.
We're pointing.
If we do this, we put a turkey in there. Can you get we both like this?
We only have 4 hands. What are you doing?
It's like, it's heartwarming.
Okay. Heartwarming. What was that? Are you a grandma wishing their grandkids
pirate.
Good luck? Oh, pirate. Not.
On today's episode of Reels Talk, I forget did you do that? Planes, trains, and automobiles. So stay tuned.
I think we should do that again. My planes, trains, and automobiles cherry has been popped. And
that is something you would say. Welcome back, everyone. Amazing Amanda here with my lovely co-host Omar. Nope. And
if you get a adjective, I better get one too.
You're right, I forgot.
Just Omar?
Just Omar.
Just plain
Jane Omar.
Mother.
He's vanilla. Okay.
All right.
Ready?
I'm not vanilla. I am mocha. All right.
All right. Welcome back, everyone.
No, you gotta give me time to edit. Like, I gotta cut. Right. You can't just jump in there. All right.
Okay.
I thought you had it.
I did, but okay.
Then you lost it?
Okay. Nope.
I already get that tone from Melanie. I don't need another woman in my life. But me.
Okay. Ready?